So it's almost August, and the year's flying on. I just thought I'd do another walk through the garden. I'll try, if that is possible, to do a quicker walkthrough to show you how it's doing. We'll not describe too many plants to you, because that takes up too much time. I'll try mainly just to describe where we're at. So this is the orchard border, doing really well. That's really nice. A plant of note in this one, we'll mention this one, is Cirsium tuberosum, and that's doing really, really well at the moment. Fantastic. That's Rus glabra lanceolata. I'm always mentioning this one, and look how well it's doing. It's doing absolutely beautiful now. That is a superb autumn colour that I'm really looking forward to this year, because it's become quite a big plant now. Now still, I haven't put the path in. This is going to go in this August, he says. Hopefully that's going to go in August, and that should look pretty good. It's going to be full of those. So these tiles are going to go there, and also some. So this area is looking really nice. This is the Carl Forster border, looking great as usual. The alliums have suffered a little bit because they've been blown over, a lot of them. They are so tall, but I put them in there deliberately to try and help that. But I fear that I may not have planted them deep enough. So that's why that's happening. So I'm considering lifting them and digging them in deeper for next year, which means I may have to sacrifice some of the flowers this year. This is part of the long border. It's looking really good. Nice Echinacea pallida there, that's doing well. Well, everything's doing well, to be quite honest. Now the white flower at the back there, that's Amimagus, and that's an annual. That's doing really well now. It's finally got its act together. Finally got its act together, and it's a really nice one, that. And it will self-seed around. Now look behind there, there's one of those cuttings I took 2 years ago. I've done a video on this, so if you want to look that up. And that is a black elder, one called Black Tower. And that's wonderful from a cutting. The original plant I bought cost me, I think, £36. Although I did buy it as a big plant, it is huge now. It's that one there. So that's the mother plant that I took the cuttings off. These always look good, don't they? They look great. It's just a poppy, Somniverum, the opium poppy. But you must be careful, because sometimes these things can set too many seeds. They're doing all right. Everything's settling in nice now, and it's just waiting for this path to go in, and then this is going to bring this to life. Bressingham hybrids, Echinaceas are looking good. The Dischampsias are doing well in this border. So everything's doing okay at the moment. So I'll move on to this, and this is the Cloister Pergola, and it's looking wonderful now. Things are starting to get more established. They're nowhere near where I want them. But you can see that rose has been trained up, that post there. Hopefully next year it will reach the top and hopefully go across some of the bars. I don't know whether it's going to make it next year, but hopefully it will. But the Cloister Pergola has been a great success. It's doing really well. Very happy with it. There's still a lot of maturing to do here, but you know that the garden's only been in its build phase for the last 3 years, just over 3 years now. And this is the back end of the long border, and then the decking, which looks absolutely wonderful. I really do like the decking. I call it the floating deck, and you can see why. It's floating, what, 3 foot, 3.5 foot above the border, and when we sit on there, you can see it's just a very inviting seating area. Really nice. And I get to look at the Calamagrostis there swaying about in the wind. And here's that elder, that Sambucus that I talked about, Black Tower. And it's wonderful. That must be, I'd say 11, if not 12 foot now, that. It's about at its ultimate height. So this area's done really well. These are the cow feeders, and the planting's getting going now. It's doing really well. I look forward to next year. Now we will have to do some editing. We get the odd sow thistle, like I've just found there. So I did put normal soil into there, so we was bound to get weeds developing in here over time. And we have. But it's doing well. So everything's looking good from up here. This is a mountain ash. Sorbus cashmeriana, come from a seedling. Seems to be developing these very purple diffused leaves now, and I think it's just because of where it is in this tin. You know, it's hit and miss in it with whether it gets any water, although I do water it all the time. But over the last 2 weeks we've had tons of rain. The wildlife area I am classing as a successful area now. It's very nice indeed. Plants are still getting established though around this area. There's still a lot to go. I like looking up this area. This is really nice. It's quite a rise up there, but it's really nice, and it helps me when I'm designing the garden. Helps to make a more interesting garden. The different levels. Obviously things like the shack, the boardwalk and the decking all help with that, but they're only part of the show, so you've really got to go for it and be brave and put lots of things in. It's exactly what I do. As you know, I put all weird and wacky stuff in. This area's looking nice. Oh, that smell of that lavender. I can smell the lavender from here. It smells really nice, full of bees. He says full of bees. Yeah, there is. There's bees all over it. It's looking good. This area's looking nice. That pergola there. I love that pergola. Build of passion again. It's not going to be long now before the grasses are starting to send up the seed heads, and that's the late season grasses. So things like this, miscanthus, will soon be doing their thing. And we've got this andropogon, and it's Garadii, and it's called a Weinheim Burgundy, and it's a beauty at the minute. It's doing really well. Again, only a year old, so a way back from where I want it to be. Got a lot of weeding that I've been doing in this garden over the last few days. I've got another opening garden soon for a particular garden club local, and I'm having to go around. In fact, as I'm talking to you, I'm pulling out weeds. I've got to pull them as I see them, really. It's a nightmare, really. It's an ongoing process, but I do love to do it. So that's the area down to the wildlife dip pools. That's looking really nice, and you can see from up here now how steep it is down there. Quite deceiving. Skinny Minnie's looking absolutely superb. Got clumps of it all over now. Looking wonderful. Melinias are starting to come into their own. That Melinia is going to be huge. My grass is doing well. I know I show you that way too much, but worth looking at. This has impressed me this year, and this is a Verbena McDougalii, and it's called Lavender Spires. It is a true beauty. So that's really nice. That's just the back of the shack. And then the nook. I've neglected this area, as you can see from the weeds, but that will be dealt with very shortly. But in general, it's growing lovely. Doing what I wanted it to do. And yeah, I think I'd like to introduce more ferns into this, but these ferns are going to be quite a size. They are robuster, so they're going to do really well. But the weeds are not helping. They are what they are at the moment. This is always a nice view. It always catches me out, this view, because I forget about it. So I'm in the nook at the moment, so it's showing it really nice. But anyway, lawn needs a bit of a cut. That bamboo's great. I love bamboos. People are so scared of them, but you really shouldn't be. That's Thamnocalmus crassinodus Q beauty. A truly stunning bamboo. Yeah, it really is a true beauty, and I'm going to do another video on tidying that up to show you how good these can look. I have to be careful how soon I do that, because I can actually make it look very bare indeed if I do it too early. But at some point I must. This is Anamanthele lesoniana. Used to be called Stipa arundinacea. It changed its name, but it is a stunner. These seed heads will seed around. Now, I'm not going to pull these off. I like the look of this. It always looks good with this phase. If you're worried about overseeding, now is the time to pull these. You just simply pull them away. Let's take one out. We can sacrifice one. Go on. Be a devil. So they're easy to pull out. And that is it. I pulled that one out. It comes out dead easy at this time of year. This is the time to do it if you don't want too many seeds. So that's looking really nice. It's Digitalis Stuartii, a perennial foxglove. This is nice. Let's show you it from here. So this is the view we get. That's what it's fronted with, and that's Cathy's arbour seat. And that's looking nice. I know I show that all the time, but worth showing again. If something's worth showing, it's worth showing 50, 60, 70 times. That's a little nod at a Japanese garden, really, isn't it? And a Japanese garden it is not. It's just a little nod to it, having got that acer from a friend at what I really consider a bargain price. It's a beauty. Most people wouldn't have touched that, because when it was in the pot it was pretty much like that and just falling over. You've just got to have the foresight to know what to do with them. And because that's leaning over, as you can see, getting closer, give you a good look at that. So it's leaning over, so he's grown it like that, a friend of mine. And it's it looks great. That's the type of acer that I look for. Now, if you've got this kind of damage on your acers at the moment, don't worry too much. We've had dry spells, windy spells, we've had all sorts of spells, but generally that one's doing okay. I've kept it well watered. And that's another nice view through there. That's a great view. When you're planting, you've really got to think about the views. Sometimes we can block them off too much, and sometimes we can make it too sparse, but it's interesting to have little views through like that. The Mahonia on the right there, that Mahonia shrub, was already here when we moved in. I have done a lot of work on it. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to keep it spindly like that at the top or keep it shrub-like at the bottom. I've been pruning it religiously, but it keeps wanting to be a shrub, a big shrub, so I'm probably going to play about with that a little bit more and decide on its final outcome. But I can see immediately looking at that, although that branch on the left there looks okay, if I lost that, that view would be enhanced, would be beautiful. In fact, that branch that's coming over, if that was about 2 foot higher, that would act like a tunnel and look really nice. But it is where it is. This Sanguisorba's come out over the last couple of days. It's Sanguisorba hacusinensis, a lilac squirrel. And I've got a normal hacusinensis, which is probably half that length. And that's a really nice one. This is doing really, really well. Look at that. That's great, isn't it? So that's a clematis, a Vichicelli type. and it's just a mass of flowers. And it's got a kind of an almond smell about it, heavily scented, and it's so flowery or floriferous, as I keep saying. It looks wonderful. It's a nice view of that not this grass in front here, which I'm looking at now, but the one at the back there. And that one's called Austraderia richardii. It's really nice. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I want more of it around the garden, but it's quite a big, imposing plant. So you have to make the decision, do I have lots of that in it, or should I put other plants? And I can never make my mind up. No one ever can. That's looking nice though. Look at that. That's beautiful. I just love it. I get so excited about grasses like this. Wonderful. Veronicastrum virginicum, the white one, the white pointed spire one. It's looking great now. That's album. Really nice. Probably in the wrong place, to be quite honest. I probably need to move it. Remember, when you're planting things, some things are classed as sacrificial, but some things I put in and then I get it wrong and I think, oh, it's not right there, we'll move it. So we move it around. The liatris, the purple ones that you can see further down here, they could do with more sun, to be honest with you. And I'm toying with moving every one of them into a better area. It's a shame about the Elenium there. That's Elenium Moorheim Beauty, and it's flopping around. It's done so well, to be quite honest, that's part of the problem. There's Funiculum vulgare, Purpureum, which is the bronze fennel, really. It's in flower now. Look at the size of that. That's 7 foot. Taller than my van behind it. It's amazing. Again, I get excited over little things like that. It's looking good. Some great plants in here. And I have to edit them all the time. This is becoming a favourite in the Miscanthus grasses for me. This is Miscanthus sinensis, and that purple diffused look, it practically starts off with that look, which makes it very interesting throughout its growing season. Then it will produce some flower or seed heads, which as you can see there, they're thickening up, and they will get to about 6 or 7 foot. So that's Miscanthus sinensis samurai, a really nice form. I'm very impressed with that one. And that one is definitely worth having. I've got it next to that Hylotelephium, which is Carfunkelstein. So that's an old sedum. That used to be the sedums. That's a nice view down there as well. So this garden's designed to entice you to walk around it. So by putting paths in, it kind of guides you. This one definitely guides you, and I love walking around. I like walking around here when it gets a bit darker, or the light levels drop a little bit. It can be really interesting. Very interesting. Now, this is a brave move for me. Well, I say a brave move. I've done this loads of times. Put this plant, oh, there's so many weeds here. God, it does annoy me. But I'm moving into these borders tomorrow when I've got more time. And get rid of that. So I wanted to get close in. Now, it's a small plant at the minute. Now, these echinops can be very, very, very successful. We'll not call them invasive. They can be very successful seeders. And this will get taller than this. I'll put the size on the screen. And this particular one is not your normal Rytro one. This one's Benaticus Taplow Blue. So a little bit more of a different type. And as I say, I like to have different plants. And it's going to look good next year. This year, not going to be great. Not going to be great at all. Now that's a Nyphophia. I think you can just make it out. There, Nyphophia rufa. So it's a species type, and it's wonderful. I love it. I love that one. That's a beauty. It's got more flowers on it this year. I got that via Beth Chatto Gardens. Came across it there. It was the only one in the nursery. I snapped it up when I saw it. It's beautiful. Lysomachia here. This is Lysomachia clethroides. And it's a very invasive. Oh, no, let's go back on that. That's a very successful spreader. So I avoid that by putting it into this container. And that's keeping it just where it needs to be. Contained. Now there's one called Ephemerum. I'll put it on screen. This one here, it's more of a taller variety. It's well behaved, this Lysomachia. It won't really do much more than clump bigger each year. But year on year, it will get better. So that's where we're at, nearly August. The month of my birth. So that's going to be all exciting. So there you go. So that's the gravel area with a pergola border. And the tree you can see there, that's the shady border with Cathy's arbour seat in the background. You can just make it out. Then we have the owl up there. I love that owl. And then behind that, we've got the nook and the deck we get to view from up here as well. So that's nice. I've just got a scent of something. I wonder what that was. I've got that many scented plants in here. I lose track. So the wildlife area is looking fantastic. And that's been very successful. I want to improve it. I don't know how I can improve that, but I'm sure there's an improvement somewhere. Got one or two ideas, so we'll see if they materialise. And the shack at the back there, one of the biggest builds I've done in this garden. And then the cloister pergola's looking great. So I'm well above it here. I'm on a 4-foot high walkway, really, as you can see. We're on a brick walkway. So we get to be well above that. And then at night time, that has little fairy lights on it, and it looks really nice. And then we come to the floating deck, which is looking great. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. And then down to the orchard, where we started. So that's another little walk through Grassy Bottom. And next month, hopefully we'll be able to show you more of the miscanthus and the Molinias and the panicums, because they should be seeding and they should be looking really, really nice. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we get a good show this year. I'm sure we will. We usually do. It'll be great. Okay, I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da.